Salam, namaste, sat sri akal to all those who have joined me on this beautiful afternoon. It is the 21st of March 2021, and it is the day of the spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere. On this day, many of us are celebrating Nowruz, the Persian New Year. Therefore, I would just like to take a moment to wish all those who are celebrating a very happy Nowruz Mubarak. This afternoon, I am joined by a very special guest. She holds a long list of qualifications to her name and practices as a nutritional therapist. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce you all to Anuja Jalota. Welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit show, Anuja. I am thrilled you were able to join me this afternoon. I understand your practice as a nutritional therapist. Please take a few moments to explain to our viewers what that means.
Hi, everybody. I became a nutritional therapist about 6 years ago. So just to give you a very brief outline how I ended up being a nutritional therapist. In 2008, I was actually diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And at that time, I was in teaching. I gave teaching up, not because of my MS, but I think it was just a time to do something a bit different. So I retrained as a nutritional therapist. And I think one of the main reasons I'd done that, having a science background and diagnosed with something like multiple sclerosis really took me back. And I'd done a lot of research with the effect of lifestyle and food on not just multiple sclerosis, but on other elements as well. So that is the reason I trained. I finished my education in 2016, and I've done some training in functional medicine as well. So that's a very brief overview of why I became a nutritional therapist. So it's talking from experience.
You know, when obviously I was introduced to yourself, I found you to be an absolute inspiration, because most people who are diagnosed with a certain condition are not quite sure sometimes how to deal with their emotions, to deal with the disease. And it's just wonderful the way you took it upon yourself to make your life better, to deal with the condition that you were diagnosed with. And you're absolutely right. Nutrition is such an important part of our well-being, not just physically, but mentally also. So it's really, really wonderful to have you on this show and to share with our viewers the wonderful depth of knowledge that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, through these very testing times we're all facing, it is vital to maintain a healthy immune system. It is absolutely wonderful that the vaccine rollout program is as successful as it has been, but it is also just as important to look after our own health using natural means and to eat the right kinds of foods to boost our own natural immunity against pathogens that cause disease. Now, our first line of defense to pathogens that cause disease is our skin. Thus, it is extremely important to remain hydrated. It is important to drink between 8 to 10 glasses of water to maintain a healthy skin structure. Drinking lots of water helps to oxygenate our cells, which ensures they function at their maximum capacity. And it also helps to flush out toxins from our systems. Our immune system is further composed of cells, organs, and chemicals. And in order to function at optimum levels, we need to consume the right nutrients. Wouldn't you say, Anuja? Am I right in saying that?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, as a nutritional therapist, what advice would you give our viewers on the kinds of foods to consume to boost their immune system, especially when they're faced with the current pandemic situation?
Right. If I just go back to what you actually started saying about, we got first lines of defense, which obviously is our skin, the saliva, we got tears, the mucus that traps dirt and microbes, and your stomach acid. But we all know, despite all those first lines of defenses, bacteria, viruses do get in. So there's a list of things that actually affect the immune system. One is nutritional status, which I will talk about a bit depth in a couple of minutes. The other one is stress. A lot of us seem to think stress is very normal, and the kind of lifestyle we lead, it's if you're not stressed, it almost seems abnormal. And stress has a huge impact on all health conditions. And then sleep. I think over the years, sleep has really been underrated. And, it's a time where your body actually repairs and, if you like, sorts out all the housekeeping within your body. So if you're not getting enough sleep, that isn't very good. You know, I think it was Margaret Thatcher years ago. Oh, I need 4 hours sleep. Some people say, well, they need very little, but I think the current research about good 7 to 8 hours and having a good sleep routine as well. I think there's a lot of people who'll go to bed, they'll sit up and watch TV in bed, which isn't a good thing. So having a routine, where you're winding down, reading a book or meditating, deep breathing, all that is good sleep hygiene.
Hygiene, yes.
And yeah, and then we got immunosuppressants. There's so many people who are on medication where the immune system is suppressed, which they have to take for a number of reasons. So it's vital that you've got the correct nutrients, so you've got a very strong immune system. Then we got poor digestion. So you might be eating wonderfully well, but if you're not digesting your food, that means you're not absorbing the correct vitamins and minerals, and they are not taken into the body to do what they need to do. And then there's obviously being overweight and obese. And currently, with all this COVID, there's a lot of emphasis on how much worse it is if you are overweight. And lastly, vitamin D deficiency. A lot of research has actually gone into that. Before it was, about 20, 30 years ago, it's good for your bones. But now we know it's an immune regulator and it has a huge implication on our immune system. So that's the factor. So if we just look at nutrition, so first of all, vitamin A. Now, vitamin A protects the lining of your gut and lungs. It regulates inflammation, and you're probably on the news when they talk about COVID, where they explain the cascade of inflammation that's caused by the virus. It's also antiviral, and the deficiency is associated with severe respiratory tract infections such as pneumonia. I mean, I think until COVID came along, pneumonia was quite, heard of quite a lot. So the sources of vitamin A, fruits, vegetables, dark leafy vegetables in particular, liver, eggs, and milk provide good dose of vitamin A. Okay, so that's very important to have all of those in your diet. Now, the other one, vitamin C, we've all heard of, and that is very important for your supporting your immune system, and it actually reduces the incidence and severity of an infection. So if you've got an infection which lasts weeks or months, then your body becomes depleted of vitamin C. And it's very important that in your regular diet, you're eating your oranges, your kiwi fruit, and there's also vegetables like kale and broccoli, which are also high in vitamin C. And then we come on to vitamin D, which again, a lot of research, especially with this COVID. Again, it really enhances the immune system. And again, a lot of research has shown that people with vitamin D, where it's lower, is associated with greater complications and mortality. And I think one of the things with COVID, it was, people from Asian and black backgrounds were more likely to have mortality. So it's interesting the link between the vitamin D. The obvious source is the sunlight, but obviously autumn and winter we don't get much. But even in the summer, even last year we had pretty good summer. But how many of us actually go outside and sit in the sun? We're cooped up at home or in offices. We do not go out in the sun, and in some cases, if we do, if you're putting on sun protection, then that's going to stop your body from actually producing vitamin D. So, I'm not saying, oh, go out and sit in the sun for hours and expose your body without protection, but giving yourself, 20, 30 minutes so to allow your body to make the vitamin D is very important. Now, the other, good source of vitamin D is oily fish. So your sardines, mackerel, anchovies, salmon are very, very good sources. But if you're like me, I'm vegetarian and I don't eat fish, but I do take a fish supplement. And there's actually also vegan omega-3s that you could look into. So, providing that you're getting that omega 3 because it has so many functions in the body. And then we come on to zinc. Now, zinc again enhances the immune cell activity, stops viruses from replicating, and again, a deficiency leads to a 5 times higher risk of developing coronavirus complications. And the sources are meat, chickpeas, lentils, sprouts, dairy, egg, and whole grains. Now, this is just a complete, very quick snapshot, but hopefully you can realize the importance of what you're actually eating and how it affects your immune system. Okay. Now, as well as eating correctly, your lifestyle is very important. But actually, if I just go back to food for a second, probiotics are very, very important. Now, they actually reduce the risk of infection. So, you know, years ago we had that saying of, oh my god, I've got a gut feeling. And now there's so much emphasis on the gut, the microbiome in the gut, the functions it actually has. And over the years, if we have any type of infection, it's like, all right, oh, here's a dose of antibiotics, but then the antibiotics kill off your good bacteria as well as your bad bacteria. And it's only sort of coming into recent headlines how important it is to have a good healthy microbiome. So one of the very simple ways you can have good probiotics in your diet is, if you're having yogurt as part of your diet, make sure it's live yogurt, so it's got added strains of bacteria. You can get drinks like kefir, which is fermented vegetables. So probiotics are very, very important. Now, a lot of us, might be taking multi-nutrients. Now, it's very important that, after the show, if you have got a multivitamin, make sure it contains vitamin A, selenium, and zinc, because they are very, very good for the immune system. Vitamin D, which I've spoke about in depth, obviously comes from the sun, and autumn and winter we don't get much of it. It's very important to take a supplement. I mean, I always advise, if possible, if your doctor can check what vitamin D level you are, because sometimes you could be so low in it, you're getting aching joints and problems with your knees, arthritis. and it could be that you've got a very low level of vitamin D, so you can adjust your dose then. But normally in the autumn and winter, it is advised to take a supplement. Now, the other thing is exercise. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but since with this COVID, I've seen a hell of a lot more people walking, which is absolutely brilliant. Okay, because exercise helps your immune system. So, if you think, well, when we think of exercise, we think, God, we should be running marathons, jogging, we should be going to the gym. Not the gyms are open now, but even just starting off with a 5-minute walk, if not every day, every other day, just to build that up, because that is going to help with your immune system as well. And then, of course, we've got sleep and relaxation. I've spoken about how sleep is very undervalued, and how we really should be getting a good 7 to 8 hours and having a good sleep routine. So going to sleep the same time of an evening, getting up roughly at the same time, um, and relaxation. So how we relax varies for every person. You might enjoy reading a book, listening to music, you know, might be knitting, it might be coloring. Okay, so whatever you relax, that is very, very important, because what we want to do is get your whole nervous in the parasympathetic mode, where you are not, stressed out and on edge about everything. So that's a very quick snapshot. And my final slide, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's eating a very colourful diet. So next time when you're having your dinner, look at the plate. Have you got a variety of different foods with different colours, with a range of vitamins and range of minerals? And remember that each of those vitamins and minerals have a particular function in your body. So it's very important for you to be conscious of what you are actually eating. And remember, health is wealth. Okay, that's a real quick snapshot, and you've probably got questions, and you can put those into the chat box, and you can always email me, contact me if you've got any further questions, and I'm sure Zahra won't mind me saying this, but if you would like a talk on nutrition for particular ailments in the future, do inboxes. It could be something like diabetes, which is very, very high in the Asian population. So it could be, what you should be eating and what you shouldn't be eating. And I think, something that when I talk to people from ethnic Asian backgrounds, it's like when we make our curries, I know so many people who have like, oh no, we don't have ghee, we don't have butter, we have oil. Now, oil, when it's heated at high temperatures, actually changes its molecular structure. So, I would say to have actually use ghee or butter, but in moderation. Okay, having real food is much better than synthetic foods.
Well, Anuja, thank you for that. I'm glad you brought that. There is a wide misconception, actually, that olive oils are better for cooking.
Yeah.
But essentially, it is all pretty much synthesized. When you look at the content that is in the bottle, it's not pure. It does contain impurities, and you are putting those impurities into your body, which is doing you more harm than it is doing good.
Exactly.
So I'm glad that you brought the cooking factor and the methods that we use to cook our food into the chat. We do have a couple of questions, actually. I'd like to, first of all, pick up on Gina's question on vitamin D. Now, she's asking, obviously with the mention of the sunlight to for the production of vitamin D, which is naturally in our bodies. Is
Mhm.
there a risk of overdosing on sunshine, and can it cause skin infections? So
Mm.
if you want to pick up on that question for me.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, you can't really overdose with vitamin D. I mean, if you in England, the minimum should be 15 nanomoles per liter, per mole, sorry. And I would say the optimum is about 8 nanomoles,
Mhm.
which is so there's no real thing about, you know, overdosing on the sunshine. Because if you look at places like India where it's so hot, it's
Yes.
not that they are overdosing with sunshine and they're dying.
No, absolutely. I don't think it is possible to overdose on sunshine, but
No,
again, having a high exposure to sunshine, for example, can cause cancers,
of the
such as
skin, yeah.
skin cancers.
Hmm.
So, like we say in our lifestyle, everything needs to be in moderation. Now, do not obviously go and expose yourself to the sun over long periods of
Yeah.
time, because you do risk the development of skin cancers. However, having said that, in this country especially, where sunshine is pretty limited for about, well, you'd say 4 to 5 months,
Hmm.
the more time you spend in the outdoors, absorbing the little sunshine that we have during the winter months, is more beneficial to yourself in terms of obviously naturally producing vitamin D. Lack of vitamin D can bring about low moods, aches and
Hmm.
pains which are unexplained, and so many other ailments, because we feel so run down and so tired all the time. People are thinking that, oh, maybe I haven't gotten enough sleep, or maybe, I'm lacking in iron. But essentially, yes, iron is also very important, but the vitamin D element is also very important. I had a
Hmm.
question come up from another viewer asking what is the best source of vitamin D. I
Right.
believe you have already answered that
Yeah.
question, but if
I
you
mean,
can just run through that again
yeah.
for Prasenjeet.
Okay, obviously exposure to sun, and like you just said, not long periods where you're birding, it's just about 20 minutes a day, um, is the best source. And oily fish is another one. They have started to fortify foods with vitamin D.
Absolutely, yeah.
The other good, not a huge amount, but mushrooms are quite good in vitamin D as well. And I
Okay,
think if you
so
do take supplements, I think it's a good idea to have them as a spray or as drops because they're more easily absorbed by the body.
okay, so sprays and drops.
Hmm.
Now, I just want to put it out there that obviously vitamin D supplements may or may not contain gelatin. If you are a vegetarian by choice or by diet, by faith, there are vitamin D supplements that are 100% vegetarian or vegan friendly. So, you can always venture down to the pharmacy and ask for advice there if you so choose to take some supplements. Um, so Gina is asking, does vitamin D deficiency
Hmm.
lead to vitiligo? Would
Um,
you be able to answer that for
I,
her?
yeah, I think when you've got a condition, we can't say it's just one thing that causes a problem. So it's looking at your whole diet, your lifestyle, because I always explain any disease, it's almost like, different parts of a jigsaw puzzle, they come together and cause a problem. So we can never say it's just one thing, and if you correct that one thing, you won't have that.
Hmm. Okay, I hope Gina that answers your question. I did notice some other questions from our viewers, and I believe Gina was again asking, um, how do you deal with chronic insomnia? So I
Insomnia.
believe you've mentioned sleep hygiene in your talk already.
Yeah.
If you can just summarize that for our viewers once again.
Yeah. Can I just say, with the insomnia, sometimes it's a stage of life. And I know certainly if you are going through the menopause, you get disrupted sleep more
Mm,
so. But,
yes.
again, I think with insomnia, sometimes having maybe a bath, with some
Mhm.
Epsom salts in, which relaxes the body, which will be a good thing to do. Going to bed the same time, getting up the same time, and having a good, don't have your room too hot or too cold, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and I think reading a book, I mean, something I've started to do is, maybe just, listening to something that's, you know, a positive thoughts or something that normally sends you to sleep, or some relaxing music.
Yes, some calming music.
Mm,
There are loads of meditation videos available on YouTube that you can listen to that sort
yeah.
of bring you bring you back to being grounded, because obviously during the day is so hectic, life is so hectic, even in lockdown, believe it or
Probably
not.
worse.
But it's probably worse, absolutely. So, you're cleaning the house 50 times a day, and, you've got so much going on in your mind on how to deal with tomorrow, for example. So, just listening to very mellow music, or meditation videos. Again, you mentioned sleep routine is so important. Going
Mm,
to bed at the same time every night, it is absolutely vital. We talk about children, for example, having a good routine. Well,
yeah.
as adults, that also applies to us, because if we have a haphazard routine, then our minds are confused and our bodies are confused.
Mm,
One night you're sleeping at midnight, the other night you're trying to knock off at 7, and it just does not bring about a natural sleep routine.
mm,
And it is, the next day you struggle. If you've slept early and then the next day you sleep late, then it takes a very toll effect throughout the week, for example. And it's quite difficult to then bring yourself back into normality as such.
yeah.
So thank you for answering that question
Yeah. Can I
very
just
well.
say, Zaira, I think
Yeah.
so many of us, if we've not slept very well, we feel ratty. And I think sometimes, well, probably most times we make very unhealthy food choices as well, because you don't
Yes,
feel full of
absolutely.
energy. So
Yeah.
you end up eating more junk. You're less likely to exercise because you haven't got the energy. So it's
Mm.
such a knock on effect of your whole well being, the lack of sleep.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Sleep is so important. And as you said, it is underrated. When
Mm,
we haven't had the good rest that we need, and I believe it is advised to try and get at least 7 to 8 hours of deep sleep. It has a knock-on effect, and it also has a knock-on effect on our mental well-being, as well as
mm,
our physical well-being, because you reach for the high sugar foods. You go for the
yeah,
caffeine, and
yeah.
high doses of caffeine is not good for the controlling the heart rate. The high sugar foods can lead to other conditions such as diabetes, and then
Mm,
obviously, you've got the hypertension, you've got high cholesterol. It has a complete knock-on effect on our physical and mental well-being.
mm. I mean,
And these foods that you have mentioned that we reach for are not easy to digest. Therefore, obviously, the poor digestion will come into play. And then, you have to really sort of ground yourself back in again. And it is important to do that from now. If you're finding it hard to go to bed, then increase your level of exercise. And it doesn't have to be gym, as Anuja has mentioned. An hour's long walk, half an hour walk, twice, 3 times a week should
mm.
help you to get back into the routine of good sleep hygiene.
Can I just say, Zaira, I was actually
Yeah.
talking to a client last week, and he was actually, we went through his diet, and he said, oh, he has about 15 cups of tea and coffee, two sugars,
In each cup.
and in each cup,
Wow.
and that was white sugar. So within a week, I just set him some very simple targets, and his last cup of tea was about 10 o'clock at night.
Mm.
And then he was saying, well, I don't sleep very well. So if you can imagine the amount of
Yeah.
caffeine in your
In
system,
your
of
system, yes,
course you are
absolutely.
not going to sleep very well.
It's
And,
impossible.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then I think this person had psoriasis. And,
Mm.
I said, well, if you're having 15 cups of tea or coffee a day, that is 30 teaspoons of sugar.
Yeah,
Sugar is inflammatory.
absolutely.
So, and within a week, it made major changes. And when I spoke to him, it was like, I've got so much more energy. I'm sleeping much better. So, really, just talking through your diet with somebody else, they can, look at it. I mean, if I just go back to myself, when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, one of the things I'd done was acupuncture. And the guy, he was like, right, you need to go on a detox. And my reply to him was, why do I need to go on a detox? I'm vegetarian, I'm healthy. But you
Mm.
know what? It was unbelievable the amount of rubbish that I was putting in my body. So
Yeah.
sometimes we think we're healthy, but we're not.
No, a lot of foods that are classified as healthy eating are actually very high in sugar content,
Oh, yeah.
fat content, and unless you read the package, you're not actually aware of what you're putting into your body because the idea is fed into our minds that this
Mm,
food is healthy. For example, I just want to very quickly touch base on sweeteners.
mm,
Sweeteners are, advertised as being the healthier option to sugar, for example. But in actual fact, sweeteners are actually causing you more harm because it is synthesized. So you putting sweeteners into your body is actually doing you more harm than you think or
mm,
So, that's something that you really need to start looking into as an individual for your own well-being and start doing your own research and think about what you are putting into your body in order to help your body heal and to look after yourselves better.
mm.
So yes. Now, I just wanted to quickly touch base on, you've mentioned the various different kinds of foods that, you can consume in order to maintain a healthy diet, one that is full of nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
But you also mentioned Asian food, for example. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to cook our food for 2 to 3 hours. And I just want you to sort of touch base, if you can, on whether that is considered to be okay, or are you literally killing the nutrition that is in the vegetables and in the leafy greens, for example?
Um, I know there's a lot of, you know, um, in the past where people think, oh, if, like sag, for instance, which is cooked for hours and hours, and you think, well, hang on, you've lost all the nutrients.
Absolutely.
Probably a bit unsure, I haven't like looked into the research papers or anything, but if it's still, even if it's in the water that you're cooking and we're still consuming that, it's probably okay,
Okay.
you know.
So
Uh,
so because
yeah.
obviously we say that Asian cooking, you cook the vegetables for so long, is there any nutrition left?
Mm,
So possibly with what you're eating and the molecular damage isn't that extensive to
yeah.
your knowledge.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think it would be wrong for me to say, oh, yes, this is definitely the case because I am not 100% sure. So I wouldn't say, oh, yes, it does.
Okay.
But I think if you go back to our Asian diets, I mean, if we just take turmeric, it's been in the Asian diet for absolutely centuries. And
Yes.
now it's like the active component, curcumin, that's found in turmeric is
Mm.
very good anti-inflammatory.
Anti-inflammatory, yes. So
Yeah,
for rheumatoid arthritis, for example,
exactly. Yeah.
it is, I wouldn't call it a wonder drug or
Oh,
wonder
no, no, no.
spice. So, it's not going to fix all problems, but it is
Mm,
certainly going to help manage the condition a lot better
yeah.
because it has anti-inflammatory properties. So
Mm.
thank
So
you
it's
for
like
that.
yeah, I was going to say, it's like we said, it's different parts of the jigsaw puzzle. You can't say, oh, you have one thing and you're going to be fine. It's
Yes,
looking at the whole and the bigger
it's
picture.
looking at the whole picture. Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. So, thank you for a very insightful afternoon, Anuja, and thank you for joining me today.
It's a
I
pleasure.
hope you stay safe and look after yourself. If anyone has any further questions for Anuja, then please feel free to contact her. If you need her contact details, please get in touch with us at info@brijvaani.co.uk, and we will be sure to pass on your questions to Anuja and help you to get in touch with her. Thank you, Anuja. Look after yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye, everyone. And remember,
Bye.
health is wealth. Bye.
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 Okay, so I hope you have all enjoyed the Mind, Body, Spirit show on Brijvaani this afternoon. I believe we have provided very insightful information on natural ways of boosting your immune system. Being consciously aware of what we consume can help us to achieve clarity in our minds, which in turn can help achieve our long-term health goals. I just want to mention very quickly that Brijvaani has now reached 16 million viewership, and this is all thanks to you and your wonderful support. Thank you so much for all the support that you have provided us in the last 3 months. Please continue to do so. Like our page, share with all your friends and family, and I hope that you are enjoying the content that we provide for you on a daily basis, weekly basis. And I hope that you will continue to spread the love and share the love. And we are also open to sponsorships. So if you do want to advertise your business on Brijvaani, or you would like to have a chat with us about sponsorship, then please get in touch with us on the email address info@brijvaani.co.uk. Look after yourselves, look after each other. I wish you all well. Thank you. Bye. See you next week.